Hello everybody, welcome back to Mini Saints Mondays. My name is Katie, and today I thought that since we can't go anywhere right now, maybe we could go somewhere in a book. So that is precisely why I chose Katie in Scotland. Katie. Alrighty, it's not me, I wish it was. But today we will be reading Katie in Scotland, Celebrate Scotland by James Mayhew. And this is actually an entire series where she goes to different countries. So if you were looking to find a new book series that shows you a little bit about the world around us, this is an awesome one. And the main character, also a great choice. So let's get started, everybody. All right. Katie was on holiday in Scotland with her grandma and her brother Jack. Today they were visiting Loch Ness. Do you believe in the Loch Ness Monster? Asked Katie. There's no such thing as monsters, laughed Jack. He didn't notice the bubbles in the water. Wonder what Jack's about to see. A large green creature appeared and said, "No such thing as monsters. Of course there are." "Are you the Loch Ness Monster?" asked Jack. "Yes. Call me Nessie," she laughed. "Now, what brings you to Scotland?" "We're on holiday," said Katie. "You lucky things," sighed Nessie. "I'd love to go on holiday." "You could come with us," suggested Katie. "Where would you like to go?" "The Edinburgh Festival," cried Nessie, "to see a show." Whoopsies. Fortunately, Grandma was the sort of grandma who liked an adventure, so they set off at once. Nessie gave everyone a ride through lochs and rivers to the nearest station. When they reached the station, the train driver was very excited. "What an honor to meet you," he said to Nessie. But Nessie was too big to get on the train. "Oh dear," she said. "How will we get to Edinburgh?" "Don't worry," said the station manager. "We've got an old goods train which should be perfect." "We'll call it the Nessie Express," said the train driver. "All aboard!" Soon they were on their way, rattling past mountains and forests. It was a beautiful journey. Look at the picture. That's so beautiful. All right, let's see. At last, the train came to a big city called Glasgow. The train driver told them about a wonderful museum called Kelvingrove. It sounded perfect for a small trip, so they decided to go and look around. Nessie was very pleased to find the bones of a long-lost relative inside. Afterwards, they relaxed in Kelvingrove Park, where Nessie paddled in the river until it was time to get back on the train. I like the T-Rex. It's funny. The train took them all the way to Edinburgh. By the time they arrived, it was getting dark. "Let's find somewhere to spend the night," said Grandma. They found a grand hotel, but Nessie said she preferred to stay outside. "I always sleep under the stars," she said. From their hotel window, Katie and Jack saw her curled up in a leafy park. "Good night, Nessie," they whispered. "See you tomorrow." The next day, they walked down a street called the Royal Mile. "Look! It's Nessie!" people shouted. "Are you performing at the festival?" "Go on, Nessie," said Katie. "Why don't you put on a show tonight?" "Oh, all right, just this once," said Nessie. "Hooray!" the crowd cheered. They set off to explore the city until it was time for the show. First, they came to a grand royal residence called Holyrood Palace. "How lovely," said Nessie. Imagine living here. But there's nowhere for you to swim, said Katie. That's true, said Nessie. A lock is better than a palace. Next, they found a statue of a small dog called Grey Friars Bobby. It says he was a very faithful pet, said Jack, reading the sign. I bet you'd be a faithful pet, Katie said to Nessie. I would indeed, smiled Nessie. But where would you keep me? In the bath, Katie said, laughing. Come on, let's go to the castle. At last, they reached the top of the hill where the castle stood. The other visitors were very excited to see Nessie. There's going to be a Nessie show tonight, said Katie. Don't forget to come along. Suddenly, there was a loud boom. Goodness me! What was that? Cried Nessie. The 1 o'clock gun, said a guardsman. We fire it every day except Sundays, so sailors at sea know what time it is. Well, I think it's time for lunch, said Grandma, unpacking a picnic. She had even brought some Scottish shortbread as a special treat. My favorite, gasped Nessie. They sat beside a piper and listened to his bagpipes while they ate. How lovely. A little picnic in Scotland. On their way down from the castle, Nessie saw a big art gallery. I wonder if they have any pictures of me, she asked, sticking her nose through the door. But Katie couldn't see any. You'll be needing the portrait gallery, said a warder. But there were no pictures of Nessie in the portrait gallery either. Never mind, Nessie, said Katie. It's nearly time for the show. Ah, yes, Katie said. Nessie said, how exciting! Outside, the crowds were already gathering. Nessie taught Katie and Jack some Scottish dances. Soon, they were ready for their performance. I'm a bit nervous, said Nessie. Don't worry, it'll be wonderful, said Katie. And it was wonderful. Wearing splendid tartan kilts, they performed in an open-air theater. Nessie opened the show with some Highland games. She even tossed a caber while everyone clapped and cheered. For a grand finale, Nessie sang old Scottish songs while Katie, Jack, and Grandma danced the Highland Fling. Everyone said it was the best show at the whole of the Edinburgh Festival. Look at Katie go. I like her. She's fun. Afterwards, Katie said, I've got a surprise for you, Nessie. It was a portrait she had drawn all by herself. I'm going to give it to the portrait gallery, she said. Then they'll have a picture of you for everyone to see. It's perfect, said Nessie. Thank you, Katie. Grandma said it was getting late. They needed to catch their train. It's time for us to get you back to your lock, she said. They set off on the Nessie Express. They went over a huge bridge and trundled off through the night to the end of the line, where they said goodbye to the train driver. By the time they reached Loch Ness, it was very late. The scent of heather filled the air, and the moon hung low in the sky. Do you believe in monsters now? Asked Nessie. Definitely, laughed Jack. And we always will, said Katie. Goodbye, Nessie. And they all waved as Nessie slipped into the dark waters of the loch and swam out of sight. Alrighty, and that is the end of our story today. Thank you everybody for joining me. I hope that you are all safe and healthy and staying at home as much as you can. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Monday. Bye for now.